The media was given a tour of the West Seattlebridge as it nears its opening on September 18th. It was a working construction site, so the sound was a little compromised.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the top of the beautiful West Seattlebridge. I am joined today by Greg Banks, who is our engineer of record on this project, as well as Adam Dewar, who is the project manager for Kramer, our contractor. I'm Heather Marks, Marx, and I am the director of downtown mobility as well as the director of the West Seattle Safety Program. Again, thank you all for being here. So we are counting down the days until we can safely open this bridge for regular traffic. By my count, it's about 24. We're still on schedule to open on Sunday, the 18th of September. And we have finished up some of the biggest pieces of work that we have to complete. And so we are just buttoning up, doing those final things, preparing us for that moment when we'll be able to load test the bridge, analyze that data that comes back, and then offer the recommendation to open the bridge. I'd like to open it up for any questions, either for me or for Greg or Adam.
How close are you to the? Can you tell us more about load testing?
Yes, absolutely. Greg, maybe you want to join me just in case. Just in case. We're going to do two kinds of testing. We're going to do testing where we place strategically located trucks that are full to a certain weight and full to a certain weight and measure how the bridge reacts to that. And then we're going to do tests where we run those same trucks over the bridge at a specified speed so that we can measure how it impacts the bridge. We have sensors placed all over this bridge, including a sensor that we call a structural array that sort of gives us the shape of the bridge. We're going to analyze all of that data and make sure that the bridge is behaving the way we expect it to. And at that point, we'll know that we're safe to open. Greg, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I think you said it well, Heather, that we're just...
Come all the way up to the mic. Thank you.
Yes, no, I think Heather said it well. We're just taking all the various loads that are going to be put on the bridge of known weight to try to create critical stress conditions on the structure and making sure it compares with analytically predicted data.
Do you have numbers you can share with us on number of trucks or the weight?
There's a number of different load cases we're doing. So we have 6 different load cases, and we're positioning them at various locations, and up to 12 trucks will be on the bridge at a time. But each of those trucks will weigh 80,000 pounds, and so they're strategically placed to create worst-case stress conditions.
What are you looking for that, in terms of variations that would raise you and go a pause during those loads and go, okay, let's hold here a little bit and kind of analyze some stuff? What are you looking for for things out of what you're anticipating?
So the bridge, it has a certain stiffness to it. If it's purely elastic, it doesn't have any cracking. So that's one bound, and then there's another bound where it's cracked up a bit, so it's softer and deflects more. And so we have that range, and we're making sure that the visual response falls into it.
And if it doesn't, what happens then?
If it doesn't, then we look at the analytical prediction to make sure we didn't mess something up with data input, or we're going to make sure that a sensor hasn't popped or anything like that, and it's giving us faulty readings. And so we're going to ground truth first before we say that we think that it's not behaving as expected.
Explain how the load of the weight of the bridge itself figures into all this.
I just want to, Tracy, I'm sorry.
Okay.
What I want to note is that over the course of these 2.5 years, the bridge at every point has behaved as predicted by our models. So when it was very cold and we had a huge weight of snow on the bridge, it behaved the way that we expected it to. When it's been super, super hot, do you guys remember when it was like heat dome, right? So during the heat dome, the bridge behaved the way we expected it to. And so we have no expectation that any of those tests are going to come back anything other than exactly as anticipated. But the reason we need to do them is we need to make sure, right? We're not going to open a bridge that isn't safe for ordinary travel. So. And sorry, Tracy, your question again?
Yeah, again, can you explain about how the bridge's weight itself factors into all this, even
Yeah.
without anything on it?
Yeah. So Greg was just reminding me of this morning. About 80% of the load that this bridge carries when it's fully loaded with traffic is dead load, is the weight of the bridge itself. And so the weight of the traffic that travels over it is only 20%. It's significant, but it's not the bulk of it. So the fact that the bridge is behaving the way we expect it to now is also a pretty good indication that we're going to get the results we expect later. Does that make sense, Gracie?
So on the west end of the bridge, there's the curve,
Yeah,
and it's getting a special coating. How's that coming along?
it's coming along great. So we have replaced a number of panels there and overlaid it with this micro silica special concrete. We're going to grind it down so that it's all nice and level, and then we're going to put some grooves in it. And the intention there from the pavement engineers is to prevent some of those slippery moments, especially the first rainy day after a long period of no rain. So that's how we're repairing that. Did you want to add anything to that?
Heather, to be Captain Breakdown again, what are, besides the load testing and things, what are some critical things that you have to see or if you don't like that could push this past the 18th, right? To dovetail on you're not going to open it up safe grade. What could go wrong or what are in the realm of possibility?
Well, I mean, if we get data back from the load test that doesn't comport with what we anticipate, that would definitely slow us down. Like Greg said, we're going to check all of our calculations 2 and 3 times, make sure everybody's happy, make sure the data input is good. But yeah, I mean, if the data doesn't come back the right way, then we have to pause and see what's gone wrong.
Heather, can we get an anecdote of what that data looks like actually in practice, or something that's not just the numbers that we can conceptualize? Like, this is a red flag.
Oh, like a if there was a difference.
Like if there was something that wasn't lining up in the data that would actually.
Because I was thinking a spreadsheet.
A
Looks
graph
like
or
a
something?
spreadsheet.
Or is it? If it's all numbers, then
What's the difference that we're looking
Well,
for? Lack of difference.
the lack of
Before you answer, can you say your name, your full name, your role again, and spell it?
and spell it.
Yep.
My name's you want middle name too?
Well, you want to show at the bottom of the screen.
Social security number? Yeah, cool.
So it's Greg Banks, GregBanks. And so, antidote is what your question is. And so, I mean, the numbers are very small. We're looking at streams, right? So those are fractions of millimeters. But when you look at that response relative to, and these are over cracks, right? We're measuring over crack widths. And so when you measure the response, as I was saying, if a bridge didn't have any cracks, the movements are really small, and if it does have some cracks, they're a little bit bigger. And so we are looking for a number that we've analytically predicted that falls between those values. That's what we're doing. Well, I mean, it's fractions of a millimeter.
So just
Microstreams.
really look at it getting really small.
Yes.
Real small.
Real
Real
small.
small.
What is ongoing, testing or studying like that after the bridge opens? What's the next plan?
Well, after that, we would be going and doing visual inspections on the bridge at a given frequency, say weekly for a period of time, and then we'll drop back to monthly until then we start to go back to annual. So, but we'll have the monitoring system, which has been calibrated, and so that's our continuous eyes, if you will, on the bridge. And with that, we have thresholds that have been set to trigger alarms to notify city staff, consultants as well, that something happened, and that we can go out and take a look specifically where geographically that's located on the bridge.
And just to, I know it's hard to imagine numbers this small, but the size of movement that would create the conditions under which an alert would be sent is something that you couldn't detect with your eyes, right? So no one needs an alert to know that the bridge has cracked, right? So these are very minute, something that you'd never be able to tell with your eyes. That's why we have instrumentation all through the bridge, which you will have an opportunity to see when we go down.
Start of the month, there was still some concern about concrete. How much concrete work has been done and what's left?
So as far as
Where were you at? How much more concrete do you have to use?
Adam Doer, Kramer North America, ADAMDOUR, project manager, Kramer, KRAEMER. So as far as the amount of concrete left to pour on this project, it's somewhere in the order of about 40 yards that still remain, and that's to close up the access holes that we use to access the high bridge here. And it's also to patch up just a couple of minor locations that still have yet to be patched up here. Don't have a great concern right now with the concrete market and the way it is, being able to supply that in the next 3 weeks.
Is the carbon fiber wrapping done? I know it was supposed to maybe wrap up, so to speak, this week.
The carbon fiber wrapping is complete as of yesterday morning on the high bridge, so that is 100%.
Will there be a staggered approach to live traffic?
Matt, we had a question back here first. That's okay. We'll
No,
take
there's
it
so
next.
many.
Yeah.
I think top of mind for everyone, it's been over 2 years, and
Yeah.
still what everyone asks me is, why did it take so long?
Oh, that's a really good question. So there's several reasons that it's taken this long. The first is the kind of, sorry.
Let's start over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. One of the reasons is the kind of bridge that we're standing on. This is a concrete segmental bridge. Most of the works of this bridge are inside and inside the concrete. With other kinds of bridges, like we hear a lot about the bridge in Minnesota, the I-35 bridge that fell down, that was a steel truss bridge. You could see exactly where the problem was. And so that was much easier to repair. In addition, it fell down, right? We closed this bridge before it could fall down. And so we had to do work to figure out what exactly it was that was creating those cracks. So there was a lot of engineering that went into that. And then the other thing I want to note is we actually started repairing the bridge right away. Kramer North America came in and did work on the inside of the center span of the bridge to stabilize the whole thing, to make sure that we could preserve the option to repair the bridge. So that was our first step. Then we needed to go through a thorough design process and a competitive process to find the contractor to build this bridge. Why a competitive process? Because we wanted to make sure that we would be eligible for federal funds. Because we didn't allow the bridge to fall down and break, we weren't eligible for any emergency funds from the federal government. So we had to go through that competitive process for a contractor to ensure that we could be that we could receive federal money. So that's sort of the reason why it's taken as long as it has. And then we had other things that were more related to construction. You remember that we had a historically long strike, and that's something that impacted our ability to deliver the bridge. So, any further questions? Does that make sense?
Do you think that you guys have been transparent with everyone in West Seattle specifically?
Well, I mean, you can ask my friend Tracy Record here. Yeah, actually, I think we have. I think we've been completely transparent every step of the way. Every single week, at the end of the week, we have a report out of what happened. We've had numerous media availabilities, numerous blog posts, and so I think we have been as transparent as possible, not just on the repair of the bridge, but also the mitigation efforts that we are taking with the rest of the peninsula to make sure that while we don't have this bridge, people understand that there are other ways that they can get around. Thanks. Yeah.
Is there going to be a staggered approach to live traffic on the bridge?
In the early days, we were thinking that might be the right way to go, but no, we're not going to approach it that way. We're just going to open the bridge. I'm not going to tell you when, which is on purpose, because we don't want people to just flood the bridge and create a traffic jam right away. Not for safety reasons, but just for convenience reasons. So I suspect it'll open up, early in the morning on Sunday, and people can resume their lives. Anything else?
What's the intensity for this for the repair? Like how long? I heard decades. We're talking 10
Yeah.
years, we're talking 30 years.
No, that's a great question. When this bridge was originally built, we expected to get 8 years out of it, and so we expect that this repair is going to preserve the rest of its useful life. So we expect to get another 40 years out of this repair.
And what is the long-term legacy?
Oh, do you want what I hope or what I think? Okay. I hope that the long-term legacy for folks is that they understand that there are more ways to get off the peninsula than just in your single occupancy. I also hope that by being transparent and every step of the way and keeping our promises within the bounds of possibility, that we build some trust with the community about SDOT's ability to do big things. I guess I think those are my sort of most hopeful moments.
Should we go see the cool stuff?
Yeah, let's go see it. All right.
So we're gonna go down.
Once again, inside the north girder of the West Seattlebridge. So we're underneath the deck where you drive, and this is where most of the action happens. There are a couple of things that you can see, and we'll answer questions kind of one-on-one. But if you look over on the walls, you'll see marks that look like they're tracing cracks, and the reason that they look that way is because they are. So those are the marks that are tracing cracks, and you see they have dates beside them. So that's something that's interesting. The question is, how often will the bridge inspectors be inspecting the bridge? At the beginning, they'll be inspecting it quite often, every couple of weeks, and then we'll sort of draw that out. The federal standard is every 2 years, but because this is a repair, we'll amp that up, especially in the early times.
Speaking to that inspection, as you were talking about, might be a good question for your colleague, but on those yellow flags are in terms of inspecting and checking.
Right.
The inspection, what it consists of, you can see it on the wall with all the markers. You don't write directly on the crack, you still want to be able to see the crack, but you're tracing out any crack growth. And really what it is just verification, because we have the monitoring system that runs full length of the bridge. And if we see a crack that crosses that monitoring system, it'll show up, and we'll need to come out not only to look, but where to look. And so it's just making sure that we don't visually see anything we don't see on the monitoring.
So somebody will be coming up there on the helicopter with a Sharpie or something like that. It's a Sharpie.
I'm not going to say brands, but yeah.
Yes, okay. It's not sponsored by Sharpie. They'll be up there and they will be marking this, monitoring, kind of like a staff person.
That's right. So, but the buildings over there is because you got walls at almost 30 feet, lugging ladders around is awesome, right? To have to do that, so that's why it's there.
Where do you access? Can you keep traffic going while you access and get in and under? Or do you have to shut it down for a little bit?
There's an access opening that's in the shoulder, and so you can pull off to the shoulder, and you'll have to make sure you got the truck there, flashing lights and whatnot when that's happening.
It's the sort of thing that we might have to close one lane in either direction, but we can probably do that at night.
Yeah. What is a girder? Like, what are we in right now?
What's a girder? Girder is a beam, and then the question might be, what's a beam?
It's a hollow beam, or like?
No, it's just a structural element that spans from one bearing point to another bearing point. And so there's 4 piers, right? The piers carry loads back down to the ground, but the girder or the beam is what carries load from out at the end of the span over to those vertical supports.
And it can be hollow.
It can be hollow, it doesn't have to be hollow.
Thank you. All right. Okay, one other thing that I want to draw your attention to is if you look back, do you see where that light fixture is? Just beyond that, there's like a gray, it's a different color. It's gray. That's the carbon fiber reinforced polymer wrap that we talked about. So that's the CFRP, and it is strategically placed around the bridge to add strength and rigidity, and also to protect some of the epoxy that we've used to fill cracks. So if that's something you want to see. Any other questions?
So with all of these inspections, everything, we are good to go. When you guys do all of those tests, we are good to go. It's going to be open, and you anticipate it will stay open for
our intention is that this repair is sufficient to last this bridge another 40 years, which is its useful life. So there are always inspection things that have to happen. We wouldn't, at this stage of the game, want to predict that everything's going to be roses from now on, but our every expectation is that this bridge can continue to serve this community for the next 40 years.
And then real quick, we're talking about these cracks, but I mean, that's normal, right? This is normal mitigation.
Right. Concrete cracks. Yeah, go to any structure and you can find a crack. The danger is when the crack is a little too wide, and so moisture gets in and can corrode the rebar on the inside, or the cracks are located in such a way that it indicates to an engineer that something untoward is happening, which is what happened with this bridge. Is that good enough? Okay, great. So the problem with concrete cracks, those cracks become problematic when they're too wide. So water can get in and corrode the steel that's on the inside of the concrete, or when they array themselves in such a way that it would indicate to an engineer that load is being transferred in an unexpected way. Some cracks mean the bridge is breaking, and some of them are fine. And we have pros who know the difference.
So you talked about you have sensors placed throughout the bridge. Can you explain how those are going to work?
How they work?
So the cracks that are on the bridge, there are some that are global, they run the full length of our sensors, and then some that are local to cracks. And so they're measuring little slip of the crack, so that the crack wants to slip on each other, or growth in width, or increase in length. So they're oriented, same type of sensors, but they're oriented in different manners to capture those effects. And they're located in areas of known distress, because we want to keep an eye on those. But then we have continuous fiber optic that run the full length that then tell us how the bridge is deforming relative to predictions. And if a crack goes through that, there will be a spike that shows up in that sensor, and we'll know where to go lower.
So I'm sure you already take into account expansion and contraction of the bridge itself with these sensing devices?
That's right. So we've had an opportunity with the time that construction's been going on to look at that data with no vehicular traffic on the bridge. So we understand how the bridge moves relative to just environmental conditions.